The Vrexian sensor officer on the orbital station stared at his display, confused. The readings made no sense. 52 massive objects had just appeared at the edge of the system, materializing out of hyperspace in perfect formation. "Sir," he called to his commander, "we have contacts. Many contacts. Probably merchant ships," the commander replied, not looking up from his reports. "This system gets trade traffic. Sir, these are not merchant ships. These are reading as military vessels. Very large military vessels." The commander stood and walked to the sensor station. He looked at the display and felt his blood run cold. 52 contacts, all of them bigger than Vrexian warships, and they were accelerating, heading toward New Haven at incredible speed. "Send a fleet-wide alert," the commander ordered, his voice tight with fear. "Battle stations now." On the surface of New Haven, Commander Throck received the alert on his communication device. He read it twice, certain there was a mistake. 52 human warships? He said aloud. "That's impossible. Humans don't deploy fleets that large." "The sensor readings are confirmed, Commander," his communication officer replied. "They'll be in weapons range in 2 hours." Throck felt the first flicker of concern. The Vrexian force at New Haven consisted of 8 warships and 40 support vessels. Good odds against a normal response force. But 52 ships? That was overwhelming force. "Get me the Dominion High Command," Throck ordered. "I need reinforcements." But he knew reinforcements were days away. Whatever was coming, he would face it alone. Admiral Sang-Ho stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the tactical display. New Haven glowed in the center, surrounded by Vrexian vessels. His fleet was arranged in attack formation, each ship in perfect position. "All ships report ready for combat," Lieutenant J1 announced. "Send them our message," Sang-Ho said quietly. The communication was broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every Vrexian ship in the colony below. Sang-Ho's voice was calm, cold, and absolutely certain. "This is Admiral Sang-Ho of the Terran Federation Navy. You have violated the covenant of civilized species by attacking a defenseless colony. You have murdered civilians. You have enslaved children. We are here to provide justice. You will not be given the opportunity to surrender." On the Vrexian flagship, the commander heard the message and felt fear turn to anger. How dare these humans threaten the Vrexian Dominion? He opened a channel to respond. "This is Commander Gresh of the Vrexian fleet. This colony is now property of the Dominion. Leave immediately or face destruction." Admiral Sang-Ho did not reply. He simply gave one order. "Captain Yunji, you may begin." On the Indomitable, Captain Yunji smiled grimly. She had been waiting for this moment since she saw the recordings of murdered colonists. She turned to her weapons officer. "Main guns target the lead Vrexian cruiser. Fire when ready." The Indomitable's main railguns activated, massive weapons that used electromagnetic force to launch tungsten slugs at near light speed. The calculations took seconds. Then the guns fired. The Vrexian cruiser never knew what hit it. One moment it was there, powering up weapons and shields. The next moment, 3 tungsten slugs traveling at 90% of light speed struck its hull. The kinetic energy was incomprehensible. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, transformed into expanding gas and debris. The entire Vrexian fleet watched in horror as one of their largest ships was destroyed in a single shot. Evasive maneuvers. Commander Gresh screamed, "Return fire." But the human fleet was already moving. 40 destroyers broke formation and accelerated, their smaller size allowing incredible speed. They wove through the Vrexian formation like sharks among fish. From the fighter bays, 200 interceptors launched. Pilot Yuna led her squadron into the chaos, her hands steady on the controls despite her pounding heart. The training was over. This was real. "Gold Squadron, follow my lead," she said into her radio. "Target their fighters first." The Vrexian fighters scrambled to respond, but they were outmatched from the start. Human interceptors were faster, more maneuverable, and piloted by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Within 10 minutes, the space around New Haven was filled with debris from destroyed Vrexian fighters. Yuna's targeting system locked onto a Vrexian corvette. She fired her missiles and watched them streak across space. The corvette's shields absorbed the first 2, but the third broke through and tore into the hull. Atmosphere vented into space as the ship began to tumble. "Gold leader to all squadrons," Yuna called out. "Their shields are weak against focused fire. Concentrate your attacks." On his command ship, Admiral Sang-ho watched the battle unfold with clinical precision. The Vrexian fleet was trying to organize a defense, but it was hopeless. They were outgunned, outmaneuvered, and facing an enemy that had spent decades preparing for exactly this kind of fight. "Deploy the Reaper-class ships," Sang-ho ordered. Lieutenant Jaewon hesitated. "Sir, the battle is already won. The Reapers might be excessive." "Good," Sang-ho said coldly. "I want it to be excessive. I want every species in the galaxy to see this and think twice before touching our people." The 4 Reaper-class ships moved forward, and the Vrexians saw them for the first time. Each ship was 3 kilometers long, shaped like a massive wing. As they approached, they began to unfold, panels sliding apart to reveal thousands of drone bays. "What are those?" Commander Gresh whispered, staring at the display. He got his answer seconds later. The Reapers launched their drones, thousands of small craft that swarmed toward the Vrexian fleet. Each drone was equipped with cutting lasers and boarding equipment. They latched onto the Vrexian ships like insects on a corpse. The drones began cutting through armor, boring into hulls, destroying engines and weapon systems. One Vrexian frigate tried to flee, activating its jump drive. The drones tore the drive apart before it could engage, leaving the ship stranded and helpless. Commander Gresh watched his fleet being systematically destroyed. Half his ships were already gone. The rest were crippled or running. "Retreat," he ordered. "All ships retreat to—" A railgun slug from the Indomitable struck his ship's bridge. Commander Gresh's final thought was that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had realized. On the surface of New Haven, Commander Throck watched the sky in disbelief. The burning wrecks of Vrexian ships fell like meteors, lighting up the night. His fleet was gone. All of it. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," his communication officer said, her voice shaking. The message played, and Throck recognized the voice of the human admiral. "To the Vrexian forces on the surface of New Haven, your fleet is destroyed. Your reinforcements will not arrive. You have 2 minutes to release all human prisoners and surrender. After 2 minutes, we will begin orbital bombardment of all Vrexian positions. We strongly suggest you comply." Throck looked at his officers, seeing fear in their eyes. They were trapped on a hostile planet with an overwhelming human fleet in orbit. "Release the prisoners," he ordered quietly. "But sir, we can use them as hostages." "Release them," Throck roared. "Do you want to be vaporized from orbit? Release them now." The Vrexian soldiers opened the holding pens. Confused human prisoners stumbled out, not understanding what was happening. Some ran immediately. Others stood frozen, unable to believe they were free. In orbit, Admiral Sang-ho watched as the Vrexians released the prisoners. But it was not enough. Not nearly enough. He had seen the recordings of executions, seen the murdered children. Releasing a few hundred prisoners did not balance that scale. "Captain Yoon-ji, prepare ground assault teams," Sang-ho ordered. "I want every Vrexian on that planet captured or eliminated. And I want it done fast. Our people have suffered enough." "Yes, sir," Yoon-ji replied. "Drop pods are ready for launch." Across the fleet, Marines prepared for deployment. These were not peacekeepers or security forces. These were the Federation Marines, soldiers who had fought in the first contact wars and trained in the harshest environments in human space. Their armor was powered, their weapons were devastating, and their orders were clear. Major Kehoe, commander of the Marine forces, addressed his troops over the communication system. "Listen up. Those colonists down there are our people. They're farmers and teachers and children. They've been under occupation for 3 days, tortured and killed by the Vrexians. We're going down there to bring them home. Any Vrexian who resists, you put down. Any who surrender, you secure. But remember, these are the same soldiers who executed our people on live broadcast. I expect professionalism, but I also expect justice. Is that clear?" "Sir, yes, sir," 3,000 Marines shouted in unison. The drop pods launched from the fleet, streaking through New Haven's atmosphere like falling stars. In his shelter, Taemin heard the sound and looked up. "What is that?" someone asked. Taemin felt hope rise in his chest for the first time in 3 days. "That's Earth," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "That's our fleet. They came for us." All across the colony, in shelters and hiding places, humans heard the sounds of drop pods landing and dared to hope. In her underground hospital, Hee-won heard it and started to cry. In the grain silo, Mi-sun hugged the children close and whispered, "The heroes are here, just like I promised." The drop pods hit the ground and Federation Marines emerged into the New Haven night, ready to bring their people home. The drop pods hit the ground like thunder, and Major Kehoe was the first Marine to emerge. His power armor made him look like a metal giant, standing over 2 meters tall. Night vision activated automatically, turning the darkness into clear green daylight. He could see Vrexian soldiers running in panic, unsure what to do. "All units, secure the landing zones and advance," Kehoe ordered. "Remember your objectives: rescue civilians, neutralize hostiles." The Marines moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for urban combat on a dozen different worlds in every possible environment. New Haven Colony was simple compared to some of their exercises. The Vrexians, on the other hand, had spent 3 days fighting unarmed civilians. They were completely unprepared for real soldiers. A group of Vrexian soldiers tried to set up a defensive position near the ruined administration building. They raised their weapons as the Marines approached. It was a fatal mistake. The Marines' plasma rifles fired, and the Vrexian position disappeared in a flash of superheated gas. "Hostile force neutralized," a squad leader reported, advancing to the next sector. Not all Vrexians chose to fight. Some threw down their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. The Marines secured them with magnetic restraints, firm but not cruel. They were prisoners now, and would be treated according to Federation law. But they were also going to face trial for what they had done to the colonists. In her underground hospital, HFY heard footsteps above. Heavy footsteps, but different from the Vrexian soldiers. She grabbed a scalpel, ready to defend her patients if needed. The ceiling hatch burst open and a figure in power armor dropped into the room. HFY raised the scalpel but froze when she saw the symbol on the armor's chest, the flag of Earth's Federation. "Ma'am, I'm Sergeant Park, Federation Marines," the soldier said, his voice coming through external speakers. "We're here to evacuate you. Are you hurt?" HFY dropped the scalpel and started crying. "I'm fine, but I have 23 patients. Some of them can't be moved easily." "We'll handle it," Sergeant Park said. "I have medical teams standing by." He touched his helmet, activating his radio. "Command, we found survivors in the underground medical center. Send medical transport immediately." Within minutes, more Marines arrived with stretchers and medical equipment. They moved HFY's patients with expert care, treating them better than she could with her limited supplies. A Marine medic looked at the surgical work HFY had done with almost nothing. "You did this without proper equipment?" the medic asked, amazed. "I did what I could," HFY said quietly. "You saved their lives," the medic replied. "That's more than most could do." Across the colony, similar scenes played out. Marines found the shelter where Taemin huddled with 300 survivors. A Marine lieutenant examined Taemin's broken arm and immediately called for medical support. "Your arm needs proper treatment," the lieutenant said. "We'll get you to the medical ship." "My children," Taemin said. "Hana and Day. They were in the school when the attack started." The lieutenant checked a data pad. "The school shelter was secured 10 minutes ago. All children there are safe. Your children are waiting for you at the evacuation point." Taemin collapsed against the wall in relief. His children were alive. After 3 days of fear and uncertainty, they were alive. Misun heard the Marines before she saw them. Heavy footsteps approached the grain silo, and she prepared herself to die protecting the children. The silo door exploded inward, and armored figures entered with weapons raised. "Federation Marines," a voice called out. "We're here to help." "Are there civilians in here?" "We're here," Misun said, stepping forward with the 17 children behind her. "Please don't hurt them." The Marine lowered his weapon immediately. "Ma'am, we're not going to hurt anyone. We're here to take you home." He knelt down to the children's level. "Hey kids, my name is Corporal Kim. We're going to get you somewhere safe, okay?" The children, who had been silent and scared for days, suddenly all started talking at once, asking questions, crying with relief. The Marines handled it with surprising gentleness. These warriors who had just been in combat now carefully helping scared children. Not all the Vrexians surrendered peacefully. Commander Throck had retreated to the colony's former administration building with his elite guard. They barricaded themselves inside, setting up force fields and automated defenses. Captain Yunji received the report aboard the Indomitable and made a decision. She had promised herself that Throck would watch his fleet burn. That promise was kept, but she had also promised he would face justice. "I'm going down there personally," she announced. "Captain, that's not necessary," her first officer protested. "The Marines can handle it." "This is necessary," Yunji said firmly. That man executed 15 colonists on live broadcast. He tortured civilians. He enslaved children. I want to look him in the eyes when he's captured. She took a shuttle to the surface, landing near the administration building. Major Kehoe met her there, his Marines surrounding the building. Status? Yunji asked. Throck is inside with about 40 soldiers, Kehoe reported. The building is heavily defended. We can take it, but we'll lose Marines in the assault. Yunji looked up at the building, then at the sky where the Indomitable orbited. She activated her communication device. Indomitable, this is the captain. I need a precision strike on the administration building. Lance cannon, minimum power. Target the defensive systems only. Confirmed, Captain, came the reply from orbit. Lance cannon charging. Strike in 30 seconds. The Marines pulled back to a safe distance. Kehoe looked at Yunji with respect. She was not just ordering the strike from orbit. She was here, on the ground, close enough to feel the heat. The lance beam came down from space, a pillar of concentrated energy that lasted only a fraction of a second. The administration building's shields flared and died. Its automated defenses exploded. The walls cracked but held. That's our opening, Kehoe said. Marines, breach and clear. Remember, Throck is wanted alive. The Marines stormed the building. This time, the Vrexian guards put up real resistance. Plasma fire lit up the corridors. 2 Marines went down with injuries, but their armor held. The rest pushed forward with relentless determination. Throck's elite guard fought with desperate courage, but they were outmatched. One by one, they fell or surrendered. Finally, the Marines reached Throck's command room. The door exploded inward. Throck stood in the center of the room, holding a weapon, his eyes wild. 4 dead guards lay around him, killed by the Marines' assault. Stay back. Throck shouted. I'll kill any human who comes closer. Captain Unji walked through the door unarmed, her face cold as ice. Your fleet is destroyed, she said calmly. Your soldiers are dead or captured. You have nothing left to threaten us with. I can still... Throck began, raising his weapon. A Marine sniper's shot from the hallway hit Throck's weapon, destroying it. Another Marine fired a stun charge that hit Throck in the chest, dropping him to his knees. Marines rushed forward and restrained him with heavy magnetic cuffs. Yunji walked over to the Vrexian commander and looked down at him. You wanted us to know the Vrexian. Dominion was powerful, she said quietly. You wanted to show strength by attacking the helpless. So let me show you what real power looks like. She pulled out a data pad and activated it. The screen showed orbital footage of the space battle, the Vrexian fleet being systematically destroyed. Ship after ship exploding or breaking apart, the Reaper drones tearing through hulls. It was total annihilation. This is what happens when you target Earth's people, Yunji continued. Your fleet lasted 11 minutes. 11 minutes. We've been at war for less than an hour, and the Vrexian military presence in this system is completely gone. Throck stared at the footage, his face showing shock and horror. You're going to stand trial, Yunji said. You're going to face justice for what you did here. And every species in the galaxy is going to watch and learn. This is the consequence of attacking our defenseless. She turned to the Marines. Take him to the detention ship. Make sure he's comfortable. We want him healthy for his trial. As the Marines led Throck away, Kehoe approached Yunji. All sectors secured, Captain, he reported. We've found and evacuated all surviving colonists. Final count. 614 survivors, including the ones held in Vrexian ships. 203 colonists died in the attack or during occupation. Yunji closed her eyes briefly. 203 lives lost. 203 people who would never go home. It was too many, far too many. And our casualties? She asked. 7 Marines wounded, none seriously, Kehoe said. 0 fatalities. Good, Yunji said.
Get everyone to the medical ships.
I want every colonist examined and treated. And I want counselors available. They've been through hell. She walked outside the building and looked up at the night sky. The stars were clear now, no longer obscured by burning ships. The battle was over. New Haven was secure. Her communication device beeped. Admiral Sang-ho's voice came through. Captain Yunji, status report. Ground operations complete, Admiral. Yunji replied. All objectives achieved. The colonists are safe. Well done, Captain, Sang-ho said. Prepare for the next phase. We're sending a message to the Galactic Council. They need to see what happened here. On the Indomitable's bridge, Lieutenant Jaewon compiled the battle data. Back on New Haven Colony, 2 days had passed since the attack. 2 days that felt like 2 years. Taman huddled in the underground shelter with 300 other survivors. His left arm hung useless at his side, broken when debris fell during the bombing. The pain was constant, but he ignored it. There were bigger problems. The Vrexians controlled the surface, hunting for survivors like animals. The shelter was designed to hold 100 people comfortably. With 300 crammed inside, the air was hot and stale. Children cried. Adults whispered in the darkness. Everyone was terrified. "We need water," a woman said near Taman. "The children are thirsty." "The water recycler is broken," Taman replied, his voice hoarse. "We need to go to the surface and get supplies." "That's suicide," an older man protested. "The aliens are everywhere." "Then we die of thirst down here," Taman said flatly. "Either way, we need to try." Young Sik stepped forward from the shadows. The old farmer's face was covered in dust and dried blood. "I'll go. I know the tunnels better than anyone. I can reach the supply depot and back." "You can't go alone," Taman said. "Then come with me," Young Sik replied. "You know the colony layout. Together we have a chance." Taman looked at his broken arm, then at the thirsty children in the shelter. He nodded. "Let's go." Elsewhere in the colony, deep beneath what used to be the medical center, HFY worked in near darkness. The emergency lights had failed hours ago, leaving only a few battery-powered lamps. She operated by feel as much as by sight. A young man lay on the makeshift operating table, his leg crushed by falling concrete. HFY had no anesthesia, no proper tools, nothing but her knowledge and determination. She worked quickly, setting the bone as best she could while two others held the screaming patient down. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears running down her face. "I'm so sorry." She had lost 12 patients in 2 days. 12 people she could not save because she lacked proper equipment and medicine. Each death felt like a personal failure, but she kept working because 23 others were still alive because of her efforts. "Doctor," a young woman called from the corner. "The boy with the head injury is getting worse." HFY finished bandaging the leg and moved to the child. He was maybe 8 years old, unconscious, his breathing shallow. She examined him carefully. Internal bleeding, probably. Without proper imaging and surgery, he would die. "Keep him comfortable," she told the woman, fighting back despair. "Keep talking to him. Let him know he's not alone." It was all she could do. On the surface, Commander Throck of the Vrexian Dominion walked through the ruins of the colony, pleased with his work. The attack had been efficient. Most of the humans were dead or captured. A few still hid underground, but they would be found eventually. Humans were weak creatures, unable to survive without their technology. "Status report," Throck demanded, his voice a harsh growl. "We've cataloged 1,200 humans for the slave markets," his second officer replied. "Mostly healthy adults and older children. Good profit, and the resistance? Minimal," the officer said. "A few scattered groups making minor attacks. Nothing we can't handle." Throck bared his teeth in what passed for a Vrexian smile. "Good, continue the search. I want every human found. The Dominion wants more slaves, and this colony will provide them." He did not mention that he had sent a message to the Vrexian homeworld, bragging about the easy conquest. He expected rewards, maybe even a promotion. Attacking human colonies seemed profitable and simple. In a hidden grain silo near the colony's edge, Mi-sun kept 17 children quiet and hidden. They had been there for 2 days, living in near darkness, eating dry grain and rationing water. The children ranged from 6 to 14 years old, scared and confused. "Miss Mi-sun," whispered a small boy. "When are our parents coming?" Mi-sun's heart broke. She knew many of their parents were dead or captured, but she forced a smile. "Soon, Quan, very soon. We just need to stay quiet a little longer." "I'm scared," a girl whispered. "I know," Mi-sun said, gathering the children close. "But remember what I taught you about Earth's heroes? They never gave up even when things looked impossible. We're going to be brave like them." Outside, she heard Vrexian patrols moving past. She held her breath, praying they would not search the silo. The children pressed against her, silent and terrified. The patrol moved on. Mi-sun let out a slow breath. "Let me tell you a story," she whispered to the children, "about a ship called the Indomitable and the brave captain who commanded it. It's a story of hope and rescue." She did not know if Earth was coming. She did not know if anyone even knew they were under attack. But she refused to let the children lose hope. Hope was all they had left. Taman and Young Sik moved through the underground tunnels, heading toward the supply depot. The tunnels were part of the colony's infrastructure, designed for maintenance access. Now they served as secret pathways for survivors. "Stop," Young Sik whispered, raising his hand. Above them they heard heavy footsteps. Vrexian soldiers on patrol. The two men pressed against the tunnel wall, barely breathing. The footsteps passed. They moved on. "We're close," Taman whispered, pointing to a ladder ahead. "That leads to the depot." They climbed carefully, Young Sik's old joints protesting every movement. At the top they pushed aside a floor panel and emerged into the supply depot. The room was dark and half collapsed, but shelves of supplies still stood intact. "Water purification tablets, medical supplies, food bars," Taman said, grabbing what he could carry with one arm.
Take everything we can manage. Young Sik filled a pack with supplies, his military training coming back after all these years.
He moved efficiently, taking only what was essential and portable. They were loading a second pack when they heard voices. Phyrexian voices speaking in their harsh language. "Hide," Young Sik mouthed silently. They crouched behind a shelf as two Vrexian soldiers entered the depot. The aliens were searching the room, looking for salvage or survivors. Taman's heart pounded so loud he was sure they would hear it. One soldier moved closer to their hiding spot. Taman could smell the alien's strange scent like copper and rot. The soldier's clawed hand reached toward the shelf. Young Sik moved fast for an old man. He grabbed a piece of metal pipe and swung it hard, catching the soldier in the head. The Vrexian stumbled back, surprised more than hurt. "Run!" Young Sik shouted. Taman grabbed the supply pack and ran for the tunnel entrance. Behind him he heard Young Sik fighting with the soldiers. He wanted to turn back to help the old farmer, but Young Sik's voice stopped him. "Go! Get those supplies to the children. Go now!" Taman ran, tears streaming down his face, hating himself for leaving but knowing Young Sik was right. The supplies were more important than pride. He reached the tunnel and descended, pulling the panel closed behind him. Above he heard Young Sik's defiant shout, then the sound of Vrexian weapons firing, then silence. Taman leaned against the tunnel wall and wept. That night Commander Throck ordered a public execution. He had captured 15 humans during the day, including Young Sik. He wanted to break the spirit of any remaining resistance. The prisoners were brought to the colony's central square, forced to kneel in a line. Throck activated a communication system that broadcast throughout the colony, reaching every underground shelter and hiding place. "Humans of New Haven," his voice boomed. "You are defeated. You are alone. Earth does not care about you. Earth has forgotten you. Surrender now and you will be treated well. Continue to resist and you will die like these," he gave the order. His soldiers executed all 15 prisoners. In her underground hospital, Hyawan heard the broadcast and the sounds of weapons firing. She sat down heavily, her hands shaking. So many dead, so many lost, and still no sign of rescue. In the shelter, Taman listened to the broadcast, his broken arm throbbing, Young Sik's sacrifice fresh in his mind. The old farmer had saved his life, had saved the children who would drink clean water because of the supplies he brought back. "Earth has not forgotten us," Taman said quietly to the others in the shelter. "They're coming. I know they're coming." But deep inside, doubt gnawed at him. It had been 3 days since the attack. 3 days with no help, no rescue, no sign that Earth even knew they were in trouble. In her silo, Mi-sun held the crying children as they heard the executions. She sang to them softly, old songs from Earth about hope and home. The children clung to her, seeking comfort in the darkness. Above them all, Commander Throck looked at the sky, satisfied with his work. The colony was broken. The humans were defeated. Soon he would have his full shipment of slaves, and the Vrexian Dominion would profit greatly. He did not know that far above in space, instruments were detecting something impossible. Energy signatures appearing at the edge of the star system. Massive energy signatures, moving fast, coming closer. The Fifth Fleet had arrived. 3 days later and thousands of light years away, Earth's military command received Young Sik's message. Admiral Sang-ho sat in his office at Seoul Fortress, reviewing routine reports when his aide rushed in without knocking. The young lieutenant's face was pale. "Sir, you need to see this immediately," the lieutenant said, activating the wall display. The message was broken, flickering with static, but the images were clear enough. Buildings burning, people running, bodies in the streets, children crying, and then the final seconds showed the alien soldiers, tall and scaled, dragging humans into transport ships. The message ended with Young Sik's voice, barely a whisper. New Haven colony under attack. We are defenseless. Please help us. Sang-Ho stood slowly from his chair. His face showed nothing but his hands clenched into fists. He had been in the military for 34 years. He had seen war, death, and suffering. But there was something about attacking defenseless farmers that made his blood run cold with fury. Get me General Nari, he said quietly, and activate Emergency Protocol 7. Within the hour, every high-ranking military officer on Earth gathered in the war room. The massive chamber was deep underground, protected by meters of steel and concrete. General Nari, the chief of naval operations, stood at the head of the table. She was 59 years old and had never lost a battle. Show them, she said simply. The recording played on the massive screens surrounding the room. 60 officers watched in silence as New Haven colony burned. When it ended, nobody spoke for a long moment. The Vrexian Dominion, said Captain Yunji, commander of the dreadnought Indomitable. She was younger than most in the room at 38, but her reputation was iron. We've had problems with them before. 3 colonies raided in the past 2 years, added Lieutenant J1, the intelligence officer. He pulled up reports on his tablet. 2 merchant ships destroyed. Multiple warnings ignored. They think we're weak because we haven't retaliated. They think we're weak, General Nari said, her voice cold as ice. Because we've shown restraint. They've mistaken our patience for inability. She looked around the room. That ends today. Admiral Sang-Ho stepped forward. New Haven colony has 8,000 civilians. By now many are probably dead. The rest are enslaved or will be soon. The Vrexian Dominion has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. He activated a star map. New Haven colony glowed red in the darkness. I'm taking the 5th Fleet, full deployment. Every ship we have, the room erupted in murmurs. The 5th Fleet was Earth's most powerful military force. 12 dreadnoughts, 40 destroyers, 200 fighter craft, and support vessels. It had never been fully deployed, not even during the first contact wars. That's excessive force, one admiral protested. The Vrexians only have a small occupation force at New Haven. Sang-Ho turned to face the man. Good, I want it to be excessive. I want every species in the galaxy to see what happens when you attack our people. General Nari raised her hand for silence. This isn't just about New Haven anymore. This is about sending a message. We've been members of the Galactic Council for 50 years. We've followed their rules, maintained peace, and shown restraint. And where has that gotten us? Species like the Vrexians think they can attack our colonies without consequence. She looked at Sang-Ho. You have full authorization. Rules of engagement none. Show them what Earth is capable of. Sang-Ho nodded. We'll also deploy the Reaper-class ships. The room went silent. The Reaper-class ships were Earth's ultimate weapon, built after the first contact wars but never used. They were designed for one purpose, overwhelming planetary assault. Many officers had hoped they would never need to be deployed. Are you sure? Nari asked quietly. I'm sure, Sang-Ho replied. Let the galaxy see what we built while we were being patient. Captain Yunji stood at attention. The Indomitable is ready, sir. My crew can be combat ready in 6 hours. Make it 4, Sang-Ho said. We've already lost 3 days. Across Earth's orbital shipyards, alarms began to sound. Crews rushed to their stations. Ships that had been in routine maintenance were brought to full combat status. Weapons were loaded. Reactors powered up. The 5th Fleet came to life like a sleeping dragon waking. On the Indomitable, Captain Yunji walked through her ship, inspecting every section. The dreadnought was 2 kilometers long, bristling with railguns and missile batteries. It could destroy a small moon if needed. She stopped at the weapons bay where her crew loaded the main cannons. How long for full combat load? She asked the weapons officer. 3 hours, Captain, the officer replied. Make it 2, Yunji said. There are children dying out there while we prepare. In the fighter bay, pilot Yuna checked her interceptor for the 3rd time. She was 27 years old and had never seen real combat, only simulations. But she had trained for this her entire life. Every pilot in the fleet had. They all knew this day might come. Nervous? Asked her wingman, climbing into the cockpit next to hers. Terrified, Yuna admitted. But also angry. Did you see the recordings? I saw them, her wingman said quietly. Let's make them pay for it. 4 hours later, the 5th Fleet gathered in formation above Earth. It was the largest military deployment in human history. From the ground, people looked up and saw the sky filled with warships. News channels broadcast it live. The entire planet watched as their fleet prepared to leave. Admiral Sang-ho stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking at the massive display showing all his vessels. 12 dreadnoughts, each one capable of leveling a city, 40 destroyers fast and deadly, 200 fighters ready to swarm any enemy, and at the back the 4 Reaper-class ships, massive and dark, their purposes known only to a few. All ships report ready. Admiral, Lieutenant J-Wan announced. Open a channel to the Vrexian Dominion homeworld, Sang-ho ordered. Sir? J-Wan looked surprised. They're 6 days away from New Haven. I know, Sang-ho said. I want them to know we're coming. The channel opened. Sang-ho's message was broadcast across Vrexian space, recorded for all to hear. This is Admiral Sang-ho of the Terran Federation Navy. You have attacked New Haven Colony. You have killed civilians. You have taken slaves. This is a violation of every law of civilized space. We are coming for you. We are coming with the full might of Earth's military, and we will show you the same mercy you showed our people. None. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Begin jump sequence. Set course for New Haven. Maximum speed. Captain Yunji on the Indomitable received her orders moments later. She read them twice to make sure she understood. The orders were simple and terrifying. Destroy all Vrexian military presence at New Haven. No survivors among the attackers. Rescue all human colonists. Use any means necessary, she turned to her crew. You all know why we're here. Those people at New Haven are farmers, teachers, and children. They had no weapons, no way to defend themselves. The Vrexians thought that made them easy targets. Her voice grew hard. Let's show them what happens when you target the defenseless. The crew cheered, their voices echoing through the massive ship. One by one, the ships of the 5th Fleet activated their jump drives. Space twisted around them, reality bending to human technology. In flashes of light, they vanished from Earth orbit, heading toward New Haven at speeds that would cross the galaxy in days. General Nari watched them go from her command center on Earth. When the last ship disappeared, she turned to her staff. Update our defense protocols, she said. After this, no human colony will ever be defenseless again. We'll station rapid response fleets throughout our territory, and we'll deploy automated defense platforms at every settlement. That will be expensive, an aide noted. I don't care, Nari said flatly. Every human life is worth it. We've learned our lesson. Patience is valuable, but protection is essential. In deep space, the 5th Fleet raced toward New Haven. Inside each ship, soldiers and pilots prepared for battle. They checked their weapons, ran simulations, and thought about the recordings they had seen. The burning colony, the crying children, the bodies in the streets. Admiral Sang-ho sat in his private quarters, looking at a photo of his own children back on Earth. They were safe, protected by Earth's massive defenses. But the children of New Haven had no such protection. They had trusted Earth to keep them safe, and Earth had been too slow. Never again, he whispered to the photo. After this, never again. The fleet jumped through space, covering distances that would take normal ships years. They would reach New Haven in 3 days. The Vrexians had no idea what was coming for them. The morning sun rose over New Haven Colony, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Taemin stood at his kitchen window, watching the fields stretch endlessly toward the horizon. The wheat swayed in the gentle breeze, ready for harvest in a few weeks. His 2 children, Hana and Dae, sat at the table eating breakfast and arguing about whose turn it was to feed the chickens. It's your turn, Hana said, pushing her bowl away. No, I did it yesterday, Dae protested. Taemin smiled despite his tiredness. He had been up late reviewing supply reports for the colony. New Haven was home to 8,000 people, all of them farmers, scientists, teachers, and families trying to build a new life far from Earth. They had no weapons, no soldiers, nothing but farming tools and hope. That was the way the Terran Federation wanted it. Peaceful colonies spreading across the stars. Both of you can feed them together, Taemin said, ending the argument. Now finish your breakfast. School starts in an hour. Across the colony in the small medical center, Hee-Wan finished her night shift. She had been working for 16 hours straight, treating everything from broken bones to sick children. Her eyes burned with exhaustion, but she smiled when her replacement walked in. Quiet night? Asked Dr. Park, the morning shift doctor. Very quiet, Hee-Wan said, pulling off her gloves. Just the way I like it. She walked outside into the fresh morning air. The medical center stood at the edge of the colony's main settlement. A simple building made of local stone and imported metal. Nothing fancy, but it served their needs. She looked up at the sky, admiring how different it looked from Earth's sky. 2 moons hung low on the horizon, slowly fading as the sun grew brighter. In the farming district, old Youngsik was already in his fields. At 67 years old, he still woke before dawn every day. His hands moved through the wheat stalks, checking for disease or pests. He had fought in the first contact wars, back when humanity first met other species among the stars. Those were violent days filled with misunderstandings and battles. But that was 40 years ago. Now there was peace, mostly. Youngsik straightened his back and looked at the sky. Something felt wrong. He could not explain it, just a feeling in his gut. The kind of feeling that had kept him alive during the war. At the colony's only school, Mi-sun prepared her classroom for the day. She taught 32 children of various ages from 6 to 14. The classroom walls were covered with drawings of Earth, pictures of animals and plants that the children had never seen except in books. Many of them had been born here on New Haven and had never been to Earth at all. Mi-sun checked her schedule. Today they would learn about Earth's oceans. She pulled up images on the display screen, showing vast blue waters and strange creatures swimming beneath the waves. The children would love it. They always did when she taught them about Earth. The warning came at mid-morning. Tae-min was in his office at the colony administration building when all his screens went dark. Then they flashed red. Emergency alert. He stood up quickly, his heart pounding. In 5 years as administrator, he had never seen an emergency alert. Unknown vessels entering orbit, the computer voice announced. 3 large ships. Configuration unknown. They are not responding to hails. Tae-min ran to the window. He could not see anything yet, but he knew what this meant. Someone had come to New Haven. The question was, friend or enemy? He grabbed his communication device. All residents, this is Administrator Tae-min. We have unknown ships in orbit. Please remain calm and stay near your homes. This is probably just a standard visit. But he did not believe his own words. Standard visits were scheduled months in advance. This was something else. Youngsik saw them first. 3 massive shadows fell across his wheat field, blocking out the sun. He looked up and felt ice run through his veins. The ships were huge, bigger than anything humans built. Their hulls were dark green and covered in what looked like scales. He had seen ships like these before during the war. Not these exactly, but similar. Alien warships. No, he whispered. Not here. Not now. He ran toward his house as fast as his old legs could carry him. He needed to reach his emergency communicator, the one that connected directly to the colony's beacon. If they were in trouble, Earth needed to know. Hee-won was almost home when the first explosion happened. The sound was deafening, a crack that split the sky. She spun around and saw smoke rising from the communications array on the hill. The massive tower that connected them to Earth was on fire, collapsing in on itself. No, she breathed. Oh no, more explosions followed. The aliens were targeting their infrastructure. The power plant, the water treatment facility, the landing pad. Each explosion shook the ground, and with each one, Hee-min knew their situation grew worse. She ran toward the medical center. People would be hurt. She needed to be ready. At the school, Mi-sun heard the explosions and immediately moved into action. Children, under your desks now, she shouted. The children obeyed instantly, their faces pale with fear. Mi-sun's hands shook as she activated the emergency lockdown. Metal shutters slammed down over the windows. It would not stop a direct hit, but it might protect them from debris. Miss Mi-sun, what's happening? A small girl asked, her voice trembling. Just a drill, Mi-sun lied, forcing a smile. We'll be safe here. Tae-min watched the bombardment from his office window, his blood turning to ice. The alien ships hung in the sky like angry gods, raining fire on his colony, his people, his home. He tried the communications array, but it was gone. He tried the long-range transmitter, but it had been hit in the first wave. They were cut off, alone, defenseless. Youngsik reached his house and pulled out the old emergency beacon. His hands remembered the military training from decades ago as he activated it. The small device began transmitting a distress signal, a tight beam message aimed at Earth. It would take 3 days for the signal to reach home. 3 days, please, he whispered as he set the beacon. Please let someone hear this. Outside, the bombardment stopped. An eerie silence fell over the colony. Taman looked up and saw massive landing craft descending from the alien ships. They were coming down. Whatever they wanted it on the ground. He grabbed the colony-wide communication system, one of the few things still working. All residents evacuate to the underground shelters immediately. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Get underground now. People ran through the streets, parents carrying children, the elderly being helped by neighbors. Haiwan opened the medical center's basement, converting it into an emergency shelter and hospital. Young Sik grabbed what supplies he could and headed for the central shelter. Mi-sun kept the children calm as she led them through the underground tunnels that connected the school to the main shelter. She counted them as they moved. 32, all present, all alive, for now. The alien ships landed in the colony's central square, crushing buildings beneath their weight. Ramps extended and soldiers marched out. They were tall, covered in scales with eyes that looked at humans like they were insects. The Vrexians had come to New Haven, and they had come to take everything.